Hey guys, welcome to another episode of the Ex-Fugitive Factor. I'm your host, Jeremiah Sitterson. And in this episode, which has long been awaited, a lot of you guys have messaged me about this episode. When is it going to drop? Well, it's finally here. The episode where we reveal the real solutions to the Epstein problem. Actionable solutions that are going to immediately be effective, that are going to protect our children, especially here in the United States. But here's the thing, everyone's worried about elites who are pederasts, but what about the pederasts that are living next door, teaching your children, guiding your children within the educational system? Or how about those folks who have companies and organizations that cater to children, and while a lot of them are great, and a lot of them have the purest of intentions, those types of organizations do naturally draw child predators within their ranks. And that's something there needs to be more awareness on. So in a nutshell, guys, this episode is simply about protecting United States children and really children all over the world. We have an issue in our country that needs to be addressed. And I do believe we have the perfect team in office right now to address these issues. And the other thing is that you need to keep in mind is that I personally believe that the US federal government needs to maintain control almost identically to the way that they currently do. However, they need to remove the element of children completely out of the equation, other than the fact that with my solutions, they actually have a stronger hold on the perpetrators that are known, that are quote unquote on the list, which we're going to get into that later. But here's the crazy thing, guys, the federal government might actually like these ideas, because if these ideas are implemented, the same individuals who are currently being controlled because of their activities towards children, their criminal activities, they're actually going to be even more scared, even more controlled. So I'm not suggesting that the agencies and that the government not maintain control, but before we get in depth on the two options, I want to touch on making polygraph tests great again, because my view is if the technology that the United States government has is sufficient for them to use during their vetting and hiring processes within intelligence organizations, U.S. government, the Department of Defense, if it's sufficient there, why is it not sufficient in the lower courts? So this way, it's a safeguard where both the victim and the perpetrator can exercise their right to a polygraph test that is admissible. That way, we're not Epsteining people that are innocent, and it makes it much harder to weaponize the new law. So, what are my two solutions? They're really pretty simple. Effective immediately, as soon as the law is changed, from that date moving forward, if you commit a sexual crime against a child, you only have two options, and it's not your choice. It's the victim and the victim's family's choice on which option you receive. Option number one is the gator pit. Option number two, the wood chipper. Both of them are good with me. I don't care which one they pick for you, but that is equitable justice. So imagine you're a pederast and you're thinking about harming a child. If you know the consequences and that they're being strictly enforced and that you're going to need to take a polygraph test that you're not going to pass, you're going to think twice, maybe even 3 times, maybe even 155 times about doing it. So this will be very effective in immediately curbing assaults against children. You guys remember that old adage, why reinvent the wheel? I mean, when you look back in history, throughout most of time, certain crimes, there were some pretty crazy consequences. Usually the whole town participate in those consequences, which ain't a bad idea. So I'm thinking, why reinvent the wheel when the wheel was already working? And maybe the Romans were right about a few things, like entertainment. So by implementing these punishments, we can also generate significant revenue that's going to fund all the educational programs for the children, the parents, and the teachers. So I think we should live stream the ultimate punishment, make it accessible to adults, have a very stringent vetting process to make sure that the audience is like over 21. And yeah, I mean, why not? We would generate, I mean, incredible amounts of money doing that. And by we, I'm referring to the state. So I believe that the state should have their own little channel where they produce that content, and all the revenue from that will pump back into the schools, into educating the children, educating the parents, and educating the teachers on what to look for with regards to grooming and sexual abuse, and what are the warning signs, what to look for at the perp, what to look for with the child. Obviously, all of that training is going to be separate. The children are going to receive, the least amount possible, but we want to make them aware of signs of grooming, a raising of awareness, because a lot of parents get blindsided. They don't know. You might have multiple children. You got 4 kids, 5 kids, 6 kids, and you don't understand that one of the things that these people look for are larger families that have a lot of kids. They know the parents are not going to be able to pay attention to every little mannerism and every little detail of every child. And it's much easier to develop relationships with members, with other children and members of the family. This particularly happens in a school setting where you get teacher, guidance counselor, coach, administrator. It could be a principal, vice principal. It could be a head athletic trainer. But these individuals, a lot of times, are the recruiters. These individuals are the ones that are the children and passing the information on to their fellow pederasts. And that's how they make this. That's part of how they make the selection. They also target children that are learning disability. They are more likely to be targeted. If your child has behavioral issues and they end up in an alternative school, they are more likely to be targeted. Even if they don't end up in an alternative school, they are more likely to be targeted. If they end up in a juvenile detention center, they are highly likely to be targeted. And I'm a big supporter of law enforcement, but in every industry, in every form of government, you have bad apples. And anywhere where there's children involved, the predator is going to gravitate towards that in a lot of cases. So at the end of the day, we need to raise awareness. We need these programs in the schools. We need to raise awareness like we used to back in the day for drug use, zero tolerance for drugs, don't do drugs. We need to bring that program back. And we really need to take a close look at our educational system and tightening it up, because it's really gone downhill in the last 20 years. And it's really such a shame, because there's a lot of great teachers out there. There are a lot of teachers out there that have the best of intention. They care about the kids. They're not just there for a paycheck. They'd be somewhere else if they were looking for a big paycheck. They don't have any ill intentions. They're not extreme to the right or to the left. They're not trying to propagandize your children. They're just there to help your children. And it sucks because they're in a group where there are a large percentage of bad apples now. And it's really been amplified over the last 15, 20 years. And it's so organized, it needs to be dismantled. I'm just being honest. You got to have your eyes open. You got to pay attention. You got to show up. So guys, this solution, by changing the law, making it effective immediately, that the new enhanced punishment, and raising awareness of the issue and of how it's carried out with parents, with teachers, with children, we can put a massive, massive, massive halt to the crimes being committed currently against children. And that's why I suggest this. On a final note, for the crimes that were committed prior to that date, you are fair game for the old laws. And because of a raise in awareness, a lot of them will be found out. I suspect a lot of people will exit the country voluntarily if this were even getting close to being passed, which is a great thing. And guys, we can't forget about the victims who have already suffered. They do be made whole in any way that's possible. They do deserve justice. By raising awareness for this, some will come forward. The ones that come forward, it'll be under the old laws for crimes committed prior, but they'll still get their justice. And right now we have the most powerful team we've ever had, starting with President Donald J. Trump, followed by Vice President Vance, Attorney General Pam Bondi, Department of Education head Linda McMahon. I would love to see those four people get on this. Pete Hegseth and the FBI, Kash Patel and Dan Bongino and the new guy they just brought in. Forgive me, I don't remember his name. We put that team on this and we can consider it done. And this will be monumental change. You want to get to heaven? This is the way to heaven. So what's the final verdict, guys? What happens if Trump pulls this card? If he pulls this Trump card, if Trump pulls this card, then all he has to do when he finally makes it to those pearly gates is whip out that Trump card and show it to the gatekeeper there, and he'll instantly be escorted inside, VIP access. Yes, sir, Mr. President, that's all it took. What's that? Michael says that the robotic gators were a nice touch there at the end. Couldn't agree more. Well, enjoy your time up there, sir. Thanks for watching, guys. I hope you enjoyed this episode. Comment below and let me know your thoughts on these solutions. We appreciate your support. We'll see you next time.